Perfect. Presentation is up. Council, my name is Gordon Arujo from UGI Utilities. I'm here on behalf of a project that we're working on in your community at South Wood Street and Keystone Avenue. This is a environmental site that we call the Middletown Former Manufactured Gas Plant. This is a site that we've presented to you before, probably about 4 years ago, when we did our initial investigation and our first phase of environmental cleanup on this site. Today we want to give you an update of what we've uncovered and what we've done thus far, in addition to ask for your assistance in a driveway and stormwater management waiver for the Morales property. If you go to the next slide. Introductions were just made. I'm Gordon Arujo with UGI, the Senior Environmental Engineer. I run our manufactured gas plant program. UGI is in a consent order with the Pennsylvania Department of Environmental Protection, where we have 69 manufactured gas plants in Pennsylvania that we're responsible for investigating and cleaning up. The one in Middletown is one of those sites that is under our consent order. Ryan Carr from PADEP is our project officer. Think of him as our case manager. And we work closely with him on report submittals, any cleanup plans that we're putting together, any work plans. So he is aware of all of the activities that we are working through for this project. Introduced earlier were my consulting team from GEI, behind me, Jamie, Shane, and Nav. They'll be helping me through the presentation today. Next slide. The Middletown MGP site, a little bit of history on this. Middletown's been here a long time, and this facility dates back to the time of Portsmouth. So if you remember when Portsmouth was its own little vestige of Middletown and then became part of Middletown. So we're in 1880 to 1905. This was actually land that was granted from SWAR, was the original land grant owner. And this plan, you can see in this picture, was along the former Lumber Street and Wood Street. And adjacent to it was the former Pennsylvania Canal that wrapped around the MGP plant. MGP standing for Manufactured Gas Plant, so you may hear that acronym as we're talking. You'll see that there's a little water feature as well that's right under that circle called gasometer. That water feature is the environmental cleanup that we're going to be talking about in this investigation, or in this conversation today. In all, this MGP site today encompasses 4 different parcels, and we have access agreements with 5 different property owners through the investigation and cleanup efforts we've done so far. Next slide. That could work. These are the parcel map of the properties. UGI owns the parcel that's right here on South Wood Street. It does not have a street number, but it is a parcel that we've had dating back to the era of the MGP. Tenley has the property on the corner. Bechtel owns the property that's adjacent to Swar and Keystone. Morales owns the kind of amoeba-shaped parcel that's in the middle that encompasses probably half of a stormwater basin, and you can see that basin outlined here. UGI's parcel has the rest of that stormwater feature in it. Other properties that we've obtained access agreements with are the Bixler residence and the Eli residence, both on Swar Avenue. So this is kind of our layout of the land feature, or of the parcels that are associated with the MGP and the investigation we've done so far. Next slide. I'm going to turn this over to my colleague, Jamie, who's going to talk a little bit about historic features and where we're driving investigation and cleanup.
Thank you. Can everybody hear me okay? Mm-hmm. So in the interest of time, I think we got to keep this down to 10 or 15 minutes. So, and our primary reason, well, there's twofold. One, to update the Borough Council on the activities here, but also to discuss the waiver request that we were submitting. So try to work through this a little quickly here. So as Gordon pointed out, there's a historic water feature here that's most likely fed coal barges to the historic MGP plant. You can see these yellow features here. So the main operating plant was underlying the Tenley residence, and then there was this round feature, which is a gas holder, which they would produce gas and fill that holder up, and that's how gas was distributed through the community. So because this is a low feature, it was filled in over the years after the plant was decommissioned and wasn't used, and so it's been the focus of our investigations historically. But previously, in the first round, if you could advance to the next slide, please. Thanks. We did a cleanup from 2020 to 21. It started in September, finished up in the spring, and it was focused on the health and safety of the residents, primarily surface soils, which turned out to be historic fill, which was basically came from probably smelting factories in the area. So we focused on cleaning and removing that soil. And each one of these colors is an excavation that was completed to a different depth. So we focused around the Bechtel residence here and the Tenley residence, and we cleaned the soils up, excavated to whatever depths the soil data told us, would be qualify as residential statewide health standard under the DEP regulations. The goal here was to achieve residential statewide health so that the residents could be used and occupied with no restrictions. And so we did that, and we collected a bunch of data, and it turned out, we've cleaned a good bit of the site. However, there's an area of the site that was not cleaned up at that time, and that's what this second phase is for. So we're focusing on remediating in the area that's outlined in this red dot, which is primarily the canal feature, and we're stopping at basically Swar Avenue, where our data says that what we're seeing as far as soil impacts from the old manufactured gas plant end and over to Wood Street, where we have soil borings out here. I don't know if you could advance to the next slide, please. So if you look at this, you can see the historic MGP in the context of an aerial photo prior to the start of work here and afterwards. So this is a post 2020-21 cleanup aerial photograph where you can see we reinstalled a driveway in the Bechtel's property. We put new fencing in, we redid the driveways, and we restored this area here. And UGI maintained a working platform for this next phase of work here that's stone. We got a variance for that. We attempted to install a driveway for Morales off of Swar, but we're told that that was not a viable option and received a notice of violation, and therefore removed that because that right-of-way has been abandoned. So, so this is pre and post remediation. You can see we've done quite a bit of work to improve the area to address the cleanup, the contamination and cleanup to a statewide health standard under the DEP regulations. So since that time, we've done some additional work, which is informing our next phase of work. And I don't know, Matt, you want to come up and discuss that?
Hi, everyone. Can we go to the next slide, please? So this was the investigations that were done in 22 and 23 to kind of fill in the gaps of what we didn't investigate during phase 1 of the work. So as you can see in the figure, there was a couple of monitoring wells in the area of the affected properties. So next slide, please. So this next phase of our work, we're hoping to begin at the end of this month. This is going to encompass the area that Jamie mentioned that was not addressed within the first phase of the work. So we will be excavating soils to standards within that the historical water feature, as well as the vacant UGI parcel. So these shaded areas are where our excavations are going to be taking place. So I'll pass it on to Shane for some information about the driveway construction.
Hey everybody. So, as part of the restoration phase of this upcoming remediation, we're going to be constructing a driveway for Morales. The reason why we're doing that is he cannot construct a driveway on his own property because he has insufficient side yard space. We've previously attempted to access Swar Avenue and build a parking space from off Swar Avenue, but that has been unsuccessful in the past. So, we have proposed to build a driveway off of South Wood Street, and that will include, we'll be accessing off South Wood Street. We'll be building an asphalt driveway through the vacant UGI property, which will lead to a 20 by 30 parking area on the Morales property. So we will be adding about a little over 2,100 square feet of impervious coverage. So in order to address that, we'll also be building a rain garden within the existing infiltration basin. So, go ahead.
I'm sorry, Grace, can you go back one slide just very quickly? What's this yellow line represent here?
Oh, I'm sorry. That is the proposed driveway construction. So again, it'll
From
be
wood, okay.
from wood, which will go through the UGI vacant property, and then lead to a parking area on the Morales property. There's a slide coming up that'll give you a better representation.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then this gives you a better idea too.
I got it, thank you.
And you're gonna put a rain garden in there?
Correct. Yeah, to account for the increase in volume of the stormwater runoff, which I'll get into a little bit later. So what we need from the borough to construct this driveway is understand that UGI plans to transfer their property to Morales and eventually consolidate those two parcels into a single parcel. So in the meantime, we need the borough to temporarily waive the ordinance that says you cannot build a driveway on more than one parcel. So again, they're going to sell or transfer their property to Morales and eventually consolidate the two parcels. And in the meantime, we need the borough to allow us to build that driveway on two parcels. And this gives you an idea of what the basin looks like right now. It currently drains the surrounding properties. We have not seen any pooling water inside the existing drainage area, and it does not connect to the Commonwealth of PA. So it essentially acts as an unregulated stormwater feature at present.
What makes you think that it actually works as a stormwater feature at all? Are there any outlet structures or inlet pipes?
There are none. So it naturally, all the water from the surrounding properties drains into this basin and then infiltrates through the basin, but it does not have any stormwater structures. So it is essentially an unregulated stormwater feature.
It's essentially the canal.
Yes, yes.
We actually think that this is probably a legacy feature from probably the abandonment of the Pennsylvania Canal after the 1936 flood. So in the 1936 flood, this whole area of Middletown was flooded with water, and there was a development authority that was set up that after all the homes were deemed to be compromised, they were all raised, and the development authority purchased all those properties. Fast forward, I think it was 4 or 5 years, that land was sold back to landowners. And when that happened, the canal no longer existed. So we don't have a whole lot of records, or we haven't found a whole lot of records of how this area was regraded. But we know that the canal was abandoned around that time. And this is probably one of those features that was still left there as a preliminary idea of stormwater management before any of those stormwater controls really existed.
Yes.
The question is, where are we at?
And then this will give you a better idea with a photo of what the drive will look like. Again, we'll be accessing off Swar Avenue, go through your UGI vacant property, and I'll go to a parking area on the Morales property. And then to account for the additional impervious material, we are proposing a rain garden to offset the increase in runoff volume. So the rain garden will essentially be a basin within a basin. We'll be excavating out, I think it's about 75 cubic yards of soil, putting back in clean fill, and then planting grass that'll help enhance the infiltration of the basin. And in addition, there will be a spillway on the rain garden that if it exceeds the capacity of the rain garden, it'll overflow into the existing basin where it can infiltrate like it does at present. Yeah. And then this gives you an idea of what the rain garden would look like in the existing basin with the proposed driveway. And what we need from the borough regarding the stormwater management waivers is, since the existing basin is an unregular stormwater feature, in order to do the stormwater volume controls, the volume calcs, the stormwater management report, and the stormwater management figure, we have to do an investigation with data that we don't have from the existing basin. So we need to waive the administration requirements to do the stormwater management.
Can you repeat that, please?
So since the existing basin is an unregular stormwater feature, we need data from that to do the volume controls and do a stormwater management report as stated in the borough code, which we don't have because it doesn't exist.
What do you need to do more? I guess that's the part where I get lost is there's nothing that says it's a basin. So essentially all you're looking at is pre versus post conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So like I guess I don't understand what part of that complicates it, just to look at the pre-development drainage area versus the post-development, and like I'm not understanding where the complicated part comes in, I guess.
It requires like data that we don't have. Like we have to do a whole stormwater study on the basin to do the volume. Like,
I mean, I guess the site drains well now, as is. I mean, the additional impervious material, we don't anticipate that changing anything. It was sort of more of a good faith effort to put something in to offset the volume change. But for us to do the calculations and understand the drainage of the entire area would probably be a little bit difficult, just because, you know, it wasn't a design feature. And so, I mean, it's basically working fine as is, and will probably continue to work just in the same way with the addition of the impervious cover. You know, even when Catherine Street and State Street flood, the basin's dry. We've talked to the neighbors, and it's been a long, long time, probably Agnes, since there's been any standing water in it. So, you know, we just don't anticipate that what we're doing with the additional impervious cover is going to really change anything. It was sort of, okay, we're taking some volume out of the basin, let's offset it with the rain garden and just help enhance it a little bit if there's going to be any impact at all. We just don't anticipate there being any. So that's sort of our take on it. So rather than going through the time and expense of understanding how that whole area drains, because it's just grandfathered in basically, and it's just, you know, we thought we'd design a rain garden per the regs, but just not have to do all of the other administrative requirements that go along with it that would be kind of onerous with the way it's set up now, with the way that you know, the information that we'd have and what we'd have to do to get that information.
Excuse me, what did you say about Catherine Street?
Well, talking to the neighbors, when, you know, recently there was some flooding, and State Street was flooded, Catherine Street was flooded a little bit. And even when those streets had standing water in them, the basin was still dry. It's our understanding that it's been a long time since anybody's seen any accumulated or standing water in that basin. So it functions really well as is.
Oh, okay.
So that's, yeah. So I don't, did that help clarify it a little bit? Maybe not?
No, not exactly.
Okay.
Thank you.
and you can go to the next slide, but I think that's the last one. Oh, or end summary. we will be conducting another phase of work coming up at the Middletown NGP site. As part of the restoration phase, we'll be constructing a driveway for Morales, who has had unsuccessful attempts of constructing his own driveway previously. UGI plans to divest its parcel to Morales and eventually consolidate the two parcels. And ultimately, we need the borough to waive various requests so we can construct that driveway and waive stormwater management requirements. Thank you. Any questions?
I have a couple questions.
Sure.
What's the time, you may have said this, what's the timing associated with what you're proposing to do?
Yeah, so our initial thought on timing is that our initial schedule was to start possibly the end of September. Obviously, we're still working on getting permits put together. So based on permit approvals and things, that schedule is going to change. We do have some residents that have requested that work not continue through the holiday season. So that means Thanksgiving and Christmas. So that could mean that if we're not starting in early October, we're probably not doing this project until next year. Okay. So trying to pull everything together, this was kind of a stumbling block that we did not foresee. It wasn't until we were working through codes enforcement and zoning that they brought this up, and then we thought that we were through that, and then they said you also need to talk to Borough Council. So it's kind of been more steps than what we had anticipated, which we're glad that we're here and we're glad that we're talking about this project. You know, for us, we believe that the community does have a right to know and has a right to participate. This is your neighborhood, and we're trying to do our job as UGI to clean it up. So for us, we want to clean it up. We're actively trying to get to that point. We're asking for some help from you to be able to get there.
Thank you. Sort of an extension of the borough's engineer and the why. I think you explained why you're making this request. What would be the justification for the borough to, you know, approve any sort of waiver that you're requesting?
Yeah, so I think there's a hardship question, because that's usually a waiver eligible reason. Morales has tried, I believe he's tried twice now to put in a driveway himself. In that
So
scenario,
what would be the justification for the borough approving a waiver for UGI?
the waiver request is on behalf of Morales as a resident.
Okay.
So UGI is doing this on behalf of Morales for his residence. This is for his parcel. Yes.
I'm sorry, this may be, but why are you doing that on his, like, what purpose does it serve for you to ask the waiver of us for him to have to put his driveway in?
Yeah, so as UGI does cleanup through communities, we try to leave them at or better than where we left them. This is a neighborhood that has had disruptions because of, first, the legacy of environmental contamination that has been there for 100 years. Okay? They've had residents on top of there. And for many of them, they didn't realize that they had contamination on their properties until 2006. Okay, that was when they became aware of it. As we've moved through our cleanup and investigations, it's encountered other residents as well. In the case of Morales, the only thing that he said is, can you help me get a driveway? That is the only request that he has had as part of restoration. So when you're done and you've removed all the contamination from my site, is there a way that you can add a driveway when you're done? That's the only request he's had. And I mean, it's not an unreal request. we try to do something that's good in our community, hopefully leaving a little bit better. We know that we're dealing with neighbors though, and there are a lot of different personalities in neighborhoods, and we don't always know all those personalities. And we try to do our best, and we're coming into, you know, people where they live, and we're kind of the intruder. We get that. And this is legacy contamination that goes 100 years ago. I mean, none of us were even alive at that point. And, you know, this is legacy contamination from companies upon companies ago. And I think for us, we're trying to make sure that we leave this little part of Middletown better than when we started this project.
Could you go back to the slide where you're showing where the driveway is going in it? Yeah, that's good. So, which house is it the very last one, or, like, on there,
For
so?
Morales.
Yeah, where the bigger
Morales is
part,
actually to the right.
to the right.
To the right.
It might be better to show the parcel map, because this is why it's complicated.
Probably way back at like slide 3.
That yellow one is the
Down
one.
one.
Keep going.
There, no,
Keep going.
Am I going up or going back?
go up.
Yeah, probably slide 3.
You're on 8.
There. That one. 4. So Morales is the amoeba-shaped property, and this property, and his house sits here.
Okay.
Okay. The land here is not big enough to put a driveway,
Okay.
and Swar is a closed roadway that has private ownership now. Okay, so that is not a public roadway. You cannot build a driveway on it anymore. So the only access that he still has is from Southwood Street. If UGI allows him to bring his driveway in over its property with this parking area here. And he has no problem coming around here and walking through his rain garden, walking past his rain garden to get to where he's parking. I believe his idea is that he has a camper that currently does not have a parking place that he would like to park. And I'm imagining he would have a truck as well.
Well,
Isn't that
just,
the, oh, go ahead, Angie.
sorry, out of curiosity, the neighbors in that area, the Tenley, Bechtel, Eli,
And
yeah,
Bechtel,
did,
Haley and Bixler.
yeah, did you talk to them about the driveway going in?
Yeah, so Bixler, previously when we tried to put the driveway in from Swar, Bixler is the one that contacted the borough about that driveway access. And the borough called us and said, actually called Morales and said, you're not allowed to do that. Okay? And means we were the ones, UGI was the ones putting down the stone as part of the restoration effort. We peeled that stone back and restored it as grass. So there was, the notice of violation was issued, but it was resolved by removing the stone. So we know from that standpoint, I don't believe that Mr. Bixler wants a driveway. I don't know all the reasons for that, but I know that he doesn't want a driveway coming from Swar Avenue. Okay, so this is not a driveway from Swar Avenue. I do not believe that Mr. Morales and Mr. Bixler get along very well. Okay.
What about Eli?
Eli is an elderly couple. We don't
Yeah,
see
I
them-
know them.
We don't see them very much.
Right.
They've been nice to work with when we did investigation, But other than that, they've kind of stuck to themselves.
Okay.
They haven't really had a whole lot of impact or contact with us. When we did the first round of investigation and cleanup, it was on Henley and Bechtel. We talked to them probably 3 or 4 times during that cleanup effort, and they were like, "You guys are doing fine. We have no problems."
And Bechtel was alright, or?
Yeah,
No?
Dennis was fine. I mean, his greatest concern has been after a stroke, mobility.
Yeah,
So he's wheelchair bound now.
right.
So making sure that he had access in and out of his house was a big need for him. So part of our restoration efforts was actually making sure that he had suitable ramps to be able to get in and
Oh,
out
you
of the
guys
house.
put the ramps in for him? Oh, cool.
And the driveway.
Okay.
I have a question, and Jason, you might be able to answer it. This bottom left parcel, Christopher Regal,
Yep.
is that what that says?
Mhm.
Is that just a vacant lot?
Mhm.
There used to be a house, there's that yellow thing, right?
Mhm.
That got torn down, so that's just a vacant lot.
Yeah, he was supposed to be selling it.
I think he did sell it
Did he?
to his son or something. There's another family member that he sold to.
Yeah, you know what? I think a young guy does own it now.
My question for Jason is that property buildable, or is it just gonna be a vacant lot?
I don't have the dimensions off the top of my head to give a definite answer.
Well, there was a house on it, right?
Yeah.
If the lot is too small, then it may or may not be meeting the current setbacks
Because it can't be grandfathered because the house is totally gone.
over a year's time, yeah.
And it might be a matchbook property.
So we'd have to look at the dimensions of that to see if that is buildable for a home.
Is that the camper sitting next to Morales' house right there?
To the left, yes.
It is, and it's
What is that sitting on?
it's technically grass.
Which you're allowed one trailer on grass, or of choice, one trailer, camper, boat.
And is the property of Morales equal in elevation to that of Regal? And on I guess this would be State Street.
On the side lot, yes.
So where his camper is the curb in front of his house, his lot and Regal's on the same plane in terms of elevation. You see what I'm asking?
Yes.
Hmm.
Yes, sir.
Jason, where are we at with taking 2 parcels and joining them into one?
We still have to get that ordinance created. We're in the midst of getting that in the process. We have other things in step.
And, okay, so we're close.
Yeah, we're close.
Okay, good.
I'm hoping to get it started here at the end of this year or next year.
Alright,
That's my goal.
so there you go.
Jason. So I see the UGI plot, and I see how that would be consolidated with the Morales plot. I'm just asking, Jason, if some of the UGI plot was given over to Regal, would that make that large enough to build a house?
For sure, it definitely could. It's a more narrow, we're looking at depth at this point. The dog leg's there at the camper,
Right.
so it widens up a bit. That probably would be the best spot in that whole area where that looks like there's some lumber or something in the middle where the
I am certainly not trying to muddle in the middle, but another house, you know, for someone to be able to build a home.
Will you build Regal a home? It's a joke, guys. You can laugh.
Well, or at least give them.
I follow up.
Make a deal.
And UGI's
Yeah, that's a
parcel,
good one, let's make a deal.
UGI's parcel right now is non-buildable as well.
Yeah,
Because
but
there's
just like
only
if you-
about 20 feet of frontage before you're in that
Right.
basin.
To me, it's either like maybe Morales should make a deal with Regal and buy his lot since he can't build on it, or you could build a house if you combine those. I'm just trying to think of,
I know.
I don't think Regal's property actually went on the market. I think it was a
Didn't
private
go what?
sale. I don't think it went on the market. I think it was a private sale.
Yeah.
Right, but
Oh.
what we're saying is, in a town that has limited tax parcels,
Yeah.
And I think
If-
he's approached it several times.
Morales has approached Regal.
I think
Mhm.
so.
Okay, so he won't sell, so maybe, and Regal can't build. But if UGI gave Regal that land, we would get a,
Or just a little slice of it, enough to build, and then Morales still gets his driveway. Aren't you glad you came in front of us? But another tax
Either
parcel,
way-
another home.
either way, you are, if I understand this correctly, you are going to want to merge your property with one of those.
It would make sense. I mean, UGI doesn't have a need for the land.
Right, so you're
Mhm.
looking to dispose of it one way or the other.
Right.
Okay.
Mhm.
So you're asking us to do this temporarily. What keeps you from just doing that process first and then moving forward with the project? Then we won't have to make a change.
In terms of like moving forward with the cleanup and not the driveway.
No. Like moving forward with, you said you wanted to join both parcels and hand it over to them. You're asking us to change this ordinance temporarily, and then, once you complete the work, then the process, they'll be joined together. Why can't you just do that right now?
I would just
On-
buy Regals and just,
On paper,
Done.
that makes things really easy. Unfortunately,
Yeah.
the paper doesn't exist for our property.
Okay.
Oh,
Gotcha.
So somewhere between subdevelopment plans, the Underoff subdivision and the Sherrick subdivision, UGI's parcel never got included in either of those subdivisions.
well then,
And because of that, our property boundaries changed, but our deed never did.
so doesn't that need to be rectified before
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, all that needs to happen too.
so that, to me, that sounds like that's the first step before.
It will be, and that's why time is the animal here.
That's why you want us to do this, so you can start this sooner.
We want to start the cleanup,
I gotcha.
so we can figure out how do we,
Does the driveway affect the cleanup? That's what I'm
the
not.
driveway not necessarily.
It's just a matter of, if we're gonna be disturbing the earth, get it done, so that it's done in one fell swoop, and we don't have to go back to mobilize and break ground again. It would just be more convenient across the board for everybody that way.
Is this L, what we're talking about, this whole thing?
Yeah, and it goes up to that,
Well, and the, up the, it's like sort
goes-
of.
The
traffic
black
light.
line, yeah,
goes up to there.
Oh, it
Orange
goes,
is the
so what's this
historic boundary.
orange thing? This is the, from.
That's the
fire
That was the
side.
cleanup.
Got it, okay, so we're talking from here all the way up to here.
Yeah,
wow.
It's a big piece.
it's a big piece.
Mm-hmm.
But
And
then,
there's only 20
Right
feet
there.
along the roadway in.
yeah, but then you look at the other side and that's all Morales.
Yeah, but
It's not an easy situation.
No.
Can you go back to the slide where the driveway is with the rain garden? So,
He's gotta walk
if
down.
the driveway's going there, is there any concern about that? Like, is that gonna be built up a little bit? Cause it kinda looks like it's
Yeah.
kind of a slope there.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's a little bit of fill, about 75 cubic yards, right?
Yeah, that's what I said, yeah.
That's going to be needed to be able to put that driveway in, and the offset is basically the volume of the rain garden. So there's a little bit of filling that's gonna have to occur to get that driveway in, just because it's curved, because it has to stay off of, Tenley's property, the buffer's what, 12 feet? Yeah,
where is Swar in this picture?
it's beyond,
Straight ahead.
yeah,
Straight ahead.
at the end of the fence up there.
So
And right
whose
before
house
that
is the one
garage.
with the two white doors?
Bixler's garage.
Oh, that's Bixler, okay.
Bixler's garage.
So you initially tried to come in this way, and they would have turned right onto a driveway off of Swar.
Correct.
I
Mhm.
see, okay.
Because Morales owns that entire flat area.
Yes, the majority of the frontage is.
Does the back of this proposed driveway, how far does it stay off of Swar Avenue?
About
40 feet or so.
Really?
Yeah, there's a lot of land up there.
Chief Whitebread, did you have a comment?
I had heard the gentleman say, and I just want to throw this out there for council, as this may be confusing, that the
water basin down there doesn't flood, hasn't flooded since Agnes, I know of 2004, 2011, 2014, where Catherine Street was completely underwater as well as cars. So I would strongly urge you to have the water study done before a garden was put in.
Thank you.
So that's my next question. If that property is gonna be merged, then does that mean that that rain garden is then going to be on Morales' property?
It currently is on, it would be currently on Morales' property.
It is now or it will be?
It's proposed currently on.
To be on his property. So then what if he decides, I don't like this rain garden anymore and I wanna fill it in?
That was discussions that we were bringing up.
Yeah, so that's where
Or what?
Doesn't maintain the yard now, he's not gonna maintain that garden.
He's not.
So one of the things that's part of operating and maintenance of rain gardens that we asked for a waiver, but and we talked to Morales afterwards. He's willing to add that onto his deed, similar to a post-construction stormwater management plan, a PCSM, so that there is enforceability on his deed to maintain that rain garden.
Would you agree that defining your meets and bounds of your property and merely transferring it would be much easier than dealing with just building a driveway and a rain garden?
It would be.
I would propose that that line where I put my hand right through, it would make the Regal property have a straight boundary across the back. I would split that in two. I'd give it to Regal and I'd give it to Morales and I'd be done. And I wouldn't even deal with the driveway. And then that gets a house on Regal if he ever decides to do it. That's what I would do.
You could say, don't even build the driveway.
No.
Just say, hey, we're
It's
gonna give you
easier
some of
for
our
them.
land.
Yeah, I mean,
That's a good enough, I think that's a great.
I'd rather get a house. Because we are landlocked, the flood took the houses, you're never getting it back, there's no room to expand this community, and tax dollars are important to the function of this borough. And if I could get even just one house back, I think that's more valuable than doing a favor for a guy with a driveway.
There's a resident with another question behind you.
So I have a question. I'm on Catherine, right? And I hear flood. My basement floods all the time. Just with a few drops, I have a special stick that I go downstairs and go to the end, and I have to do this thing to unclog it, flood it. And it floods all the time, even if it's just a little bit of rain. So.
Do you have a sump pump? Do you have a sump pump?
So we do know through our environmental investigation that there is what we call an overburden aquifer, so water that's on top of rock.
Right.
There is constant water in this area of Middletown. So we know that there is a groundwater aquifer that exists above rock surface. So if your basement is going down into, I don't know what depth that basement would be, but you may be intersecting where groundwater is, and groundwater here does fluctuate.
Yeah.
So if your basement is in that fluctuation zone, you're likely intersecting groundwater that's present.
So what does that mean? Is there a remedy for that? Do I keep using my stick and, going this thing so the water goes down?
I mean, it sounds like
That's
some sort of
the
clock.
drain to your basement?
Yes.
It's because it could be combined storm sewer backup too. Yeah, and that means, which wouldn't be stormwater, it means the sewers are bad. I mean, I don't feel.
Any
You need
little,
to stay on
any
task
little
here.
rain, and even when it snows and it melts, it goes right in there. I know to always go down to the basement and check that the water's not up and, go down and.
And gentlemen, you're time pressed because of construction and the winter and all that coming forward. Grace, can you go back one more time to that one with the tax parcel properties, Regal, the numbers? That one. So you can eliminate construction costs for you, all those projects and you don't even have to worry about the timing, if you would be willing to give those two properties your parcel. We could just be done. We define your meets and bounds, you split it between those two people and it's over. We don't have to do construction, we don't have to worry about the weather, none of it, correct? Because that's what I would do, right here.
Yeah, if we're talking,
This line for Regal, I'd take it all the way up to that line. This is now Regal's, this is now Morales, and be done.
Well, that always wasn't, well, oh, I see what you mean.
But would Regal's property be non-buildable? Because UGI's is
Right.
non-buildable. So that still leaves him with the same parcel.
Well, there was a house on it, and now his coverage is going to be different, Jason, right? Even if that
Yeah,
portion's not
setbacks
buildable.
expand, so
his frontage might be on Wood Street instead of,
Right.
There's, for the UGI parcel, there's just frontage and that's it, then you get into the basin, so then it's just not developable.
That's what I would do.
Now, this is all not knowing if Regal's at all interested in even building or,
Can you explain to me where the canal is on here that you said it was abandoned, right?
It's by my
so
house.
the stormwater feature in the
That's actually a pretty good. So this is historic map. This might be the whole, there's a couple drawings, but there was a lot of canal around here. So,
Is that the one that was up through Mud Pike? Or is that the one down by, the mansion house?
Mud Pike,
Mud
I
Pike?
remember it turned into Wood Street.
Yeah.
so this canal here is effectively what's, the remnant of this canal is the basin, basically. And this used to go under Wood Street, there was a bridge here, and it extended that way, and this probably went the whole way down to the Swanera Creek. And then all of this got filled in, and this remained a low-lying area, so, stormwater collects in there and either infiltrates or moves through soil somewhere.
Mm.
And, so where that is, it's hard to determine because of the canal and how it was filled in over the years, so I don't know.
Mm.
Couple more.
Oh, yeah.
So, and then, so this overlays it on a current area, you can see what the canal used to be, and then where the basin is, and then,
It was over from my house.
so,
I didn't notice that, I apologize.
yeah, that's okay,
Mhm.
yeah, I mean, it's a very complicated area, it's changed a lot over the years, there's a lot of unknowns with how it was filled in and how things behave once rain gets into that basin, but, and again, we don't, we've heard anecdotally from the neighbors that it typically remains dry when there's other flooding, there may be some intermittent flooding that we're not aware of, but
Mm.
and I guess with HRG's question, it's hard to quantify what happens to that stormwater.
I'm just having a hard time understanding why, like, you have an existing parcel with a low spot. Like, if anyone in Middletown would wanna come in and build a new house, they have to go through the process of evaluating the drainage area, which in this case, it would literally be those two parcels, cause you're surrounded by a curved street. So the drainage area actually getting to that basin is literally what you see on the screen. So
Well,
you're,
it's probably contributing, this slopes a little bit this way, but it's probably a little more complicated. There's sheet flow.
right, from those two parcels, so you have your existing conditions are those two houses coming to the basin. Your post-construction is those two houses and a driveway going to the same basin. Like, you're doing all the work, you're just not wanting to do, like, the physical, I get it, it's hard for me to understand how that's presenting a hardship to the ordinance requirements. It's really just looking at it, from a non-emotional standpoint, which is not, my job is not to grant waivers. I present the technical aspects of it, and just from the technical aspects of it, I'm not seeing a hardship in
I think for us, as
meeting
we
the
looked at it, the volume in calculation is easy.
Yeah.
So you can use your square footage that's charging into that basin, and you get your volume over basin based on topography. And then once that volume goes into that basin, where does it go?
into the ground. So like you literally already have a stormwater management BMP. You just have to provide a couple page report that back it up and does the administrative side of things like the O&M agreements and everything that goes along with it. I'm just having a hard time of seeing where the hardship is in this particular case. Just because there's a existing basin that's not actually a basin at the site. Like if it was a basin that had all kinds of pipes coming in, outlet structures, and it was being used as a basin like that, I totally understand that. But it's just the low spot. It essentially is from my aspect of it.
For us, it's interesting that both of the subdivision plans that were written for this never included that basin.
That's my point. I don't think any such basin. It's not a basin. It's an existing feature on the lot.
Right. And that feature's existed ever since.
Right.
So, I mean, obviously two parts to the request. There's, can we get the waiver to physically construct the driveway through the two different parcels, and then ultimately join them together, and then it would be compliant at some time in the future, whatever agreement that would be. And then we already discussed having this on, you know, as a BMP registered on the deed, so the O&M part's addressed. But I guess it sounds like, you know, you'd be interested in some calculation to back it up a little bit. You know, I mean, and understandable, but that's all sheet flow, and again, in our opinion, it's really not going to change. Putting that driveway is not going to change the way any of the stormwater acts or conveys at this point. So,
and I think UGI is looking for council's opinion on this. You know, if you believe that proceeding with just the cleanup at this point in time is most appropriate, and revisiting land development as another conversation, then that's fine. But we wanted to at least, on behalf of Marissa Morales, who asked us to do this, bring it to your attention that this is a resident that has this desire. So we're advocating for him. But at the same point, we're also advocating as UGI that we need to clean up this environmental contamination. So for us, that's our motive. We need to clean up the contamination.
Can I ask you a question on the remediation that you're doing? Are you putting any fill into the canal, into the basin as you call it? Are you raising it up at all?
No.
Are you taking contaminated soil from it?
From the basin itself,
Yes.
yes.
So you will be putting back what you took out. And if I remember correctly, when you took out on the Bechtel and the property on the corner, you didn't put fill back in, you put stone or stone dust 5 feet down.
We put clean fill as defined by Pennsylvania clean fill guidance.
But stone.
That is a allowed clean fill. What most people think of as soil backfill will actually not meet Act 2 standards for clean fill backfill.
But you're not gonna make it any less deep than what it is right now. And the reason I'm asking is my house is at the end of that. And his runoff is gonna come down the hill into my house.
where's your house relative?
My house is in front of Bixler's.
Diagonal to the right.
Over here?
Keep
So
going.
when you fix that on that end there where you wanna put the driveway, and you level it out on Swar Avenue, you level it out and you raise it, where's that water going?
She's on State Street.
That water's coming down the hill, which is where I sit.
We're not touching the
Yeah.
You're touching the top of it.
We need to see it.
No, we're not touching Spur Avenue at all.
Dawn, thank you for your comments, and I think in the interest of time, let's kind of get back to possibly your comment, which was you would like to move forward with the cleanup, and the land development portion has raised questions that you didn't maybe anticipate and were all new to us. So if that could be revisited later, that may be the best way to move forward. Thank you for bringing that to us on behalf of a resident. It's a very generous offer to consolidate parcels.
We appreciate your time.
Yeah,
Thank you.
and so Josh, you would continue working things out. That doesn't have to come back to council?
I don't think there's anything to act.
No, nothing to act on.
Okay.
We're just doing remediation?
Pardon me?
We're just doing remediation?
Correct, that's what it seems like.
Yeah.
They're gonna continue with their site.
Yeah. Any other thoughts or questions? All right, thank you very much. Sally, our next presentation?
We have, Mr. Neil Sullivan and Tamaya Kramer, from Penn State. They want to talk to us about a parcel rezoning.
Hello, everyone. Should we wait for Ms. Lloyd to return before I get started? No? Okay, all right. So, I'm here on behalf of Penn State. My name's Tamaya Kramer. I'm the Director of Real Estate for the university. And I've got Neil Sullivan behind me. He is the university planner for Penn State, and we are here on behalf of Penn State Harrisburg. We've got a, if you want to move to the next slide, please. We've got a parcel that is in Middletown that we are interested in rezoning. It is currently zoned R1A, which is residential, single-family, medium density. The parcel is 6.28 acres. We originally acquired it from Middletown Area School District back in 2007. And we would like to redevelop this as student housing. There is a need for our existing students to have on-campus housing available. As we understand it, they are utilizing a lot of the potential workforce housing that's available in the borough, and so we are trying to solve a couple of different problems here. A problem for the community and a problem for our students as well. So if you'll move to the next slide, should be pretty quick. We've got a couple of benefits we did want to call out. So we do recognize that there are some pressure points related to the workforce housing that's available. There's just not a whole lot of it. We also expect that this project, should it proceed, would be taxable. So that's going to bring in some taxable revenue to the borough, which I believe would be very welcome. Another potential benefit and solution we wanted to call out is that some of our students are currently living in not the best conditions because there just is not a whole lot available. And we've become aware of some public safety issues and potentially the need for public safety resources of the borough in order to address any of those concerns with our student population, and by bringing them on campus, giving them a live on campus solution. We're hoping that that helps to alleviate the use of the borough's resources. So with that, I will pause, and I would like to request any feedback that the borough has on this potential request to change the zoning to a multifamily or student housing capable zoning. Yes, ma'am.
So I have a couple questions.
Sure.
Could you please clarify the, public safety and safety issues that you're referring to?
From what I understand, there are, some of our students live in some trailer parks and different things like that. From what we understand, there are police calls, safety concerns that those students have voiced to administrators at the campus. And so it's the kind of thing where we're trying to find that solution for them to make sure that they have a safe place to live.
And my next question is, so that is located in the borough.
Yes.
So what police have jurisdiction over that?
I believe it would actually be UPPS. So University Police and Public Safety would likely have jurisdiction over that area. Now, I couldn't speak as to whether there would be any engagement with Middletown Borough. There probably would be, but I would expect UPPS resources would be utilized for that campus property.
How many, this proposed addition that you would like to make, how many beds would it be?
We're thinking it's going to be about 464, so between 450 and 500.
I think 464 is what the current land area will allow for,
What,
based on the unit sizes.
Tamaya, is that?
Tamaya, yes.
Okay, and Neil.
Yes.
Okay, nice to meet you. I don't know if you were briefed before coming this evening, but I've spoken out pretty heavily on this issue with the campus. I've spoken to the current president and the past. The issue that you bring up is a very real one in terms of we are losing our identity as a town because Penn State Harrisburg obviously wants to succeed, obviously wants to expand, obviously wants to bring in a greater number of students, but then they don't build these type of buildings to take care of them. So this is, to me, is long overdue. But here's the question. So between 450 and 500 beds for this building, but what is the projected growth of Penn State Harrisburg in the next 5 years?
This is only intended to meet current existing students and the existing housing needs. So
Got
there is not anticipated to be any increased enrollment due to this development. This is meeting a need that is, as you pointed out, overdue.
Okay. Yes, long overdue, in my opinion. What is the total populace of the campus at this point?
So,
5,300, is that right?
so it does fluctuate, and it has been lower. It's lower today than its all-time high, so I believe it's around 4,000, but I can look it up right now. I'll give you an exact.
I'm just looking for a guesstimate. So roughly 4,000. And how many existing beds do you have on your campus, excluding anything that's on Spring Street, just on your campus? So there's the houses when you come up Wharton.
Yep.
Okay. What out of those, how many beds do you have there?
I'm going to need to get back to you with that exact number, but I can tell you we're at 100% capacity.
Right. Do you think that those buildings are 450 to 500 beds, or are they smaller than the building you're proposing?
I think each of them is probably the same size as one phase, and we anticipate this would be like a two-phase project.
Okay.
So 2 structures.
2 structures of each 4?
No.
Okay, 2 structures totaling roughly 464.
Yeah, 460.
Okay. And Neil, you don't have a guesstimate on how many beds you have on the current structures?
I don't have that number.
Okay. See, what I'm getting at is I'm trying to see out of what you already have enrolled, how many are you housing? And then we obviously have off of Main and we have off of Spring. Those are privately owned, but many of your students are there.
Right.
Okay.
Yes.
So we've had in the past issues with traffic in that area and speeding. So my concern would be how putting additional housing there would affect, because that is a residential area, obviously, there's a lot of houses in there. Have you done any traffic studies in terms of how much would these buildings increase the traffic flow in that residential area?
We have not gotten that far yet. This is very preliminary. We wanted to have a conversation with you all first. We knew that the zoning question on whether or not we could even make this change would determine whether or not this project was even viable.
Fair enough.
So, absolutely something that we're going to get into as we continue to investigate this process.
And parking for the students in this residence would be all on campus?
On campus, that's right.
I have another question. Oh, go ahead, Ellen.
And how many parking spaces do you anticipate?
I know we would meet code, whatever code requires.
Yeah.
We don't expect that all of the students are going to be driving, but I'll need to get back to you with those details on exactly.
But parking would be on campus property?
That's right, and we do think
part of
there
the
would
project.
be a redundancy there, where a lot of the students are already going to be parking for their classes, so they'll be utilizing that on-campus parking anyway, instead of needing a separate parking space at the residence.
Okay, thank you.
I asked the next question just out of curiosity. Behind this lot where you're proposing the new building, there are parking lots currently, correct?
There are.
Am I correct that those lots are not heavily used? I'm talking about right behind where you want to build this.
I do not believe it is heavily used.
Is V and K where you're talking about? This is
Yes, yep, that's exactly right.
V and K is the 2 phases, right?
Correct,
And this
yes.
is the current parking lot?
There is a parking lot, so where the elementary school structure was, that was raised, and there is now kind of a large open parking field, and it is not really used all that much at all.
It's not formally used for parking.
Right, and there's there a basketball court or there's something
That's
there,
right.
right?
Yeah.
Okay, do V and K take that away? Cause what I'm getting at is, if that was rezoned, cause you need us to do that, do you have the room to put in a third building where the parking is, or are V and K already taking up what I'm talking about?
I think V and K are already taking up what you're talking about.
Okay.
Yeah.
What's the V that's up in the,
Up in the upper right corner.
Right.
So this is the 2013 master plan, so that area was deemed as future student housing at some future time, if and when, the campus had funding to build it.
oh, so you already own that as well?
Yeah.
We do.
And all the tan blocks that look like a winding snake, that's already the student housing I was referring to earlier? Intermingled among the...
Well, those are existing buildings.
That's what I'm saying, this is the existing student housing on campus.
Yes,
All
yes,
this,
that's right.
right?
So they're,
And you own this, and this is where the school used to be.
correct.
Correct.
What about that little piece right there?
This?
No, over there. Go up. See where it says X?
No.
There's a green one.
That's K.
No, over,
Oh, here?
right, now go up.
Yeah,
There,
we don't own that.
Okay.
Yeah, that's owned by Middletown Home.
At the time, there was discussions with Middletown of using some of their property, but
That was our first choice. We actually tried to talk to them about that first.
do you see that little spot that I'm talking about?
Why are you not building on the first V site that you had previously?
So the goal of this housing is to
Do you see what I'm talking?
have this developed by a third party. And
Probably.
the best way to attract developers for this type of project would be to sell the land to them for that purpose. Because this is already a separate parcel. And I don't believe that other V area is in Middletown. I could be wrong there.
the previous slide has the.
Okay,
Middletown
I
area, but
think
don't
it's
think it is.
in Lower Swatara,
Yeah.
so it wouldn't impact the borough.
This is completely off what we're talking about on the right side, but what about the left side? What do you guys plan to do with all that over there?
Yeah.
Are you talking about Mead Heights, the big green area on the
Yeah.
left?
Oh, that's
That is
Mead-
currently on the market for sale.
Ah.
All of Mead Heights?
All of Mead Heights.
Man, you
Put a
Is
lot of
that
houses.
so?
that's a lot of property.
A lot of
41 and a
houses
half acres.
How many?
41 and
41
a
and a
half.
half acres.
I remember when I used to hang out up there.
Yeah, it used to be housing.
Is there
That's for
anything in
sale.
your current plan or budget that you're looking at the first V site? So I know you want to sell. You're looking for us to rezone this. You're going to sell it to a private developer. They're going to build the housing, much like happened on Spring Street. What about that first V site? Does the college have any intention of moving forward with that build?
I'll say at this time, no, but that's mostly because we are not in a position to manage the build ourselves, right? And that's why we're kind of looking at a potential third-party developer to come in and develop this separate parcel. We would have to go through a subdivision process of the larger campus parcel in order to try to achieve the exact same thing on that upper V area. And again, that's not in the borough, so it would not.
No, I understand that it's not in the borough, but it's just, I've been here 14 years as of October, and I've watched multiple buildings go up on this campus that, in my opinion, has attracted more students to the campus, but this need has never been addressed first. So I would have liked to see the college move forward with the first V, and if you sell this V and K, that doesn't matter to me, but I really think that need overall has to be addressed. Colleges spent a ton of money on theaters and all sorts of other add-ons to the campus that do not address the student housing crisis, and I do refer to it as that, because this town is a college town. I support it. I love the college, but we have lost our identity as a town because it's not private housing anymore. We're like approaching 70% rental. and then we get into the issues that you were describing. So, I don't know what that's a 2013 master plan, we're 11 years later. I think the college should definitely start to think about moving on the first V, and I have no issue with your proposal here. I'd like to see more student housing up with the college.
We will absolutely share your feedback about the additional student housing need, and that even if our request is approved here, that there's still additional need that you're communicating to us.
Are there any other thoughts or questions from the council on this? Hold on, Dan. Then we would not be able to make a decision tonight, of course. We would move it ahead to our probably next meeting and have some more time to think about it and talk about it. But thank you very much for coming.
Thank you.
Yes,
Appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you.
It is good news, more student housing.
We think so. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Josh, do you mind turning the lights back on?
I kind of like that vibe. I feel like it's chilling. What? I like the dim light vibe. I feel like I'm just,
You into something
Yeah.
like, you like that?
I'm relaxed.
I do.
Planning commission, all that kind of stuff. There's nothing for you to consider tonight. It's just
You
free.
turn the lights off.
Okay. Then do they, and if they don't
See?
understand that process, they sort of.
See, Pat?
I'd hope they do, but.
You see there? You made the lights go off completely.
So then we would look forward to you going forward with the process and submitting a request as such.
They're not listening.
I know. They're ready to go.
Tamaya? Yes, ma'am. Go ahead.
Tamaya, we would look forward then to you bringing back a request, moving the process forward. Okay?
Yeah, we can work with Jason on that.
Good enough. Thank you.
Was it,
Thank you very much.
Ellen,
Yes.
when do you want me to bring up the reorganization?
After number 13, at the end.
You want to wait until the end?
Well, yeah.
Well, you need to, change the agenda.
Excuse us for just a moment, please.
You need to add it to the agenda.
Normally at the beginning.
Huh?
Yeah, what? I know it is normally, but then there was a recommendation to move it. Otherwise, we would have to change the agenda, right?
You do have to
What are you trying to do?
So let me just cut to the chase. We're currently here on public comment. They want to reorganize council.
Okay.
Normally someone just makes a motion and says, I want to reorganize. And then I have to take this spot, have to do the 2 nominations. Does it matter where it goes on this list, or should we just do it here?
I don't believe it matters the order, but if you're adding something to the agenda, I don't believe it matters where it is, but if there's something that you're taking action on that's not on the agenda, you would add it to the agenda.
Yeah.
So
you have to make a motion
And
to
you'd
it.
also
And you
have
have-
to meet one of the exceptions to be able to do that.
Pardon me?
You'd have to meet one of the exceptions to be able to do that, of what wasn't on the agenda 24 hours ago.
Right. So, then someone would make a motion to make an addition to the agenda.
Mentioning the exception that it meets, was it something that came up in the last 24 hours? Is it an emergency? Is it a de minimis?
It's something that came up in the last 24 hours.
Never happened.
Okay, I
And then
understand.
if the agenda is amended and adopted as
I can't
amended,
hear what you're
it
saying.
needs,
I know.
What are you saying?
if there's an item that you want to take action on that's not on the agenda, you would need to add it to the agenda.
Right.
But you also need to meet an exception for doing it.
We need an exception, or we need to make it?
The agenda needs to be advertised 24 hours prior to the meeting.
Right.
So if you're looking to take action on something that's on here, you need to amend it, but there's only 2 exceptions that allow you to do that.
What are?
Is it an emergency business that came out within the past 24 hours? Is it something that has de minimis impact that there's no, financial expenditures or contracts slated to it?
It's B and
Those are
C.
three off the top of my head.
It's B and C.
It's B and C.
The last 24 hours and it's the mechanism involves no money.
Okay.
Or if you're directing the manager to research something, or, those are the main ones.
Well, can you say the B and C thing?
If it's business that came up in the past 24 hours.
It's business
Like you
that
didn't know about
past
it.
24 hours.
If it's de minimis, it does not involve an
Do we,
expenditure.
can we just use one exception? Sure. Because that's all that we'll be able to manage,
Okay.
right? It's business that came up.
There are some additional steps after you do that, or after this meeting. It would need to be, the revised agenda needs to be posted tomorrow.
Okay.
But I can explain that to Grace.
Okay. Thank you for your guidance.
Just add it
Then
to-
I say let's do it now. Jim's right, we usually do it in the beginning.
If that's what you want.
All right. Madam President,
Yes.
I'd like to, add something to the agenda, after, item 13, reorganization of the council, for an item that, has come up in the last 24 hours.
Okay.
So,
And that's a motion.
yes. Can I get a second?
A second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Then we will add reorganization as agenda item number 14.
Okay.
Any public comment on agenda items at this time? If you'd like to come up to the podium and state your name and address.
Good evening, Dan Rosansky, 547 North Spring Street. Initially came to the meeting tonight to discuss decreased traffic on North Spring Street because of students returning. I was here maybe a year ago asking for speed bumps on the southern side of the entrance to Nittany Place on North Spring Street. They've got the two on the north side, which is fine. I'd like to see on the south side, particularly in light of the presentation made here tonight by Penn State, because it looks like there might be more concentration of traffic coming out of the campus on Wharton Street onto 441, and then going south on Spring Street heading towards 230. A lot of speeding already happens on North Spring Street through there. But the return of students, I've seen a lot more increased parking on the streets, increased congestion, and that part of North Spring Street is very residential. There's families, and some houses only have on-street parking. So that additional congestion in traffic could create a difficult situation, if not at least more frustration along that area.
Okay.
So in light of that Penn State presentation, I agree with the housing is great, but I'd like to see a little bit of discussion in terms of what the traffic impact would be to that area, Grandview and south.
Okay, thank you, Dan.
Thank you.
Any more public comment on agenda items? Seeing none, agenda item number 1.
Motion to approve council meeting minutes for the August 20th, 2024 meeting as submitted.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda item number 2.
This is a motion to approve payment of bills as shown on the accounts payable list dated August 28th, 2024 for the period August 14th, 2024 through August 28th, 2024, and to ratify approval of such bills already paid and to authorize the appropriate officials to take required actions to make said payments.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda item number 2 approved. Number 3.
This is a motion to adopt ordinance 2024-1412, amending the service charge levied for garbage collection.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Number 4.
Motion to adopt ordinance 2024-1413, amending chapter 210 of the Property Maintenance Code and International Property Maintenance Code section 302.4 and section 308 to provide for immediate citations and corrective action by the borough for provisions relating to weeds, noxious vegetation, trees, rubbish, and garbage to eliminate the need for repeated notices of violation.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passed. Number 5.
Motion to approve the 2024 minimum municipal obligation for the Middletown Borough non-uniform pension plan in the amount of $9,324, the non-uniform defined contribution plan in the amount of $35,651, and the Middletown Borough Police Pension Plan in the amount of $290,804.
So moved. Second.
Question or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passed. Number 6.
This is a motion to direct the finance director to work with the solicitor to draft an ordinance to take 10% up to $50,000 from a positive fund balance each year to be placed in a sinking fund for parks beginning in 2024.
So moved.
Second. Questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passed. Agenda item number 7.
This is a motion to approve the transfer of the reimbursement tuition of the 3 cadets from the general fund to the police sinking fund for future vehicles.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item passed. Number 8.
This is a special request from Shining Light. It's a motion to approve the special event request from Shining Light to hold a fundraising event with food trucks at Hoffer Park on October 27th, 2024 from 8 a.m. to dusk.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? Grace, I just want to thank you for getting the insurance attachments to both of these special events. That's very good. Thank you. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Agenda item number 9.
This is a motion to approve the special event request from the Hetrick Center to hold an open house fun fair with food trucks and other vendors in the Hetrick Center parking lot on October 26, 2024 from 10:30 a.m. to 5:30 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I think they need that. It's on the private property.
Agenda item number 9 passed. Number 10.
Motion to grant an unreserved handicap parking spot at 251 North Spring Street, subject to annual renewal as put forth in ordinance 1354.
So moved. Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Number 10 has passed. Agenda item number 11.
This is a motion to rescind previous motion designating trick-or-treat night on October 24th and designating trick-or-treat night in Middletown to be held October 31st, 2024 from 6 p.m. to 8 p.m.
6 p.m.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda item 11 passed. Number 12.
This is a motion to direct Public Safety Director Wright to take the required actions to facilitate an in-house testing for police officer candidates and to contact the Civil Service Commission for the establishment of an eligibility list for police officers and to approve waiver of Act 120 requirements for the filling of vacant patrol officer positions with the test date scheduled October 5th, 2024, where applicants would not be required to have completed Act 120 requirements. This waiver only applies to this test date.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Item number 12 passed. Agenda item number 13.
Motion to adopt Resolution 2024-18, approving the temporary extension of the Royalton Sewage Treatment Agreement until December 31st, 2024.
So moved.
Second.
Any comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Agenda item number 13 passed. Agenda item number 14.
At this time, I propose that we reorganize this council for various reasons that I will not go into. Jim, would you take the chair?
I think you have to put this one in recess.
Oh, do we?
Yeah, just that the current meeting needs to be put into a recess, and then I'll open that meeting.
Ah,
That's all you have to say.
okay, thank you. In order to reorganize, then this current meeting has to be put into recess, and at this time, the mayor will come into the seat and conduct the reorganization.
Oh,
Do I have a motion to recess this meeting?
I make the motion to recess the meeting.
Second.
No comments or questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? The meeting is in recess.
At this time, I'll call to order the September 3rd, 2024 Regal Organizational Meeting of Council. First order of business will be taking nominations for a Borough Council President.
I nominate Jenny Miller as Borough Council Borough Council President.
A motion by Councilwoman Ellen Willenbecker, a second by Councilman Rich Luskevich. Grace, could you please call the roll relative to that nomination?
Mr. Kliskevich?
Yes.
Mr. Lister?
No.
Ms. Lloyd?
Do I get to make a comment?
Yes.
Well, I don't know, because normally there's like comments or questions before most.
So we could, sure. Go ahead.
While I do think that there does need and did need to be a work organization, and I just want to go on record as to say this isn't about you personally, because I think that you would be great in that position, but some of the things that transpired today, I have to say no.
Ms. Miller?
I abstain.
Okay. Ms. Reed?
Yes.
Ms. Willenbecker?
Yes.
3 to 2. Jenny Miller will serve as the Borough Council President. The second order of business is to take a nomination for the position of Vice President.
I want to put a motion for Ellen Willenbecker for Vice President. Council.
Second.
There's been a motion by Councilman Pat Lister nominating Ellen Willenbecker as Vice President, which has been seconded by Councilman Richard Kluskevich. Grace, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Kliskevich?
Yes.
Mr. Lister?
Yes.
Ms. Lloyd?
Again, I'd like to go on record to say that I don't think that we should be putting somebody into a seat that's going to be absent for large portions of time, and I'm a no.
Ms. Miller?
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
No.
Ms. Willenbecker?
Yes.
Councilwoman Ellen Willebecker will serve as the Borough Council Vice President. The third order of business is to take a nomination for the position of Secretary.
I nominate Pat Lister for the position of Borough Secretary.
Second. There's been a motion by Councilwoman Ellen Willebecker to nominate Pat Lister as the Council Secretary, which has been seconded by Councilman Richard Kluskevich. Grace, if you could please call the roll.
Mr. Kluskevich?
Yes.
Mr. Lister?
Yes.
Ms. Lloyd?
Do you want this position?
Yeah, take it.
Did you know that you were gonna be nominated for it? Oops.
I was just nominated for it. I'm accepting.
No, I know, but did you know prior to the meeting?
I know right now.
No, I asked, did you know prior to the meeting that you were gonna be nominated for it?
I did not know that I was going to get this position. It's obviously an organization.
No, is my vote.
Do you want it, Pat?
Yes.
Ms. Reed?
Excuse me. Do you want it, Pat?
Listen, I'm here to serve the community, so if someone wants to elect me and they feel like I'm going to do a good job at it, that's fine. It's not about me.
Okay, I'm just asking. I'm just asking.
It's not about me.
All right, I'll work with you. You know that, brother. I'll work with you. Fine. Yes, Pat. Yes, Pat.
We're missing a vote.
Ellen.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry.
All right, that passes 5-1. Councilman Pat Lister will serve as the Borough Secretary.
Okay.
At this point, I will conclude the September 3rd, 2024 Regal organizational meeting.
Thank you.
Pat. I didn't know.
At this time, is there any general public comment?
Well, you have to go back into the,
Oh,
regular.
pardon.
Call back to order.
Go back to order.
So, before general public comment, we have to call the meeting back to order. It is now back to order. Is there any general public comment? Seeing none, do I have a motion to adjourn this meeting and go into executive session?
I don't have
You don't have anything? Sally, do you have anything?
I thought Mike was coming.
So moved.
Then we are making a motion to adjourn and not move into executive session.
I thought Mike was coming.
So moved.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Meeting adjourned.
Bye, Cliff.
Bye,
Good
Cliff.
night, everyone.
Night.
Night.
I could have sworn Mike was coming tonight.
I don't think so. Maybe next.
Really?
Forgot to say what I was supposed to say.
I didn't think so.